Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi Kageboushi. Last time was the the kind of weird awkwardly long talk about journalism and clickbait. Felt like more of a self-insert of Ryukishi's opinions there, but it was kind of fun in its own way. Plus the realization how the Hinamiza racism is spreading. So we're gonna be watching Tomoe Tatu Natsumi. Hopefully, she has a better shot at it. Well, it's hard to be worse than Hakusata and Oishi's interaction, though she didn't really like come off that good in the last arc. So also, quick notice: I am bid update. Well, quote unquote bid. It's actually not that big for Higurashi viewers, so compared to the other two main series, but update video tomorrow or Friday. We are um doing like some scheduling stuff, though Higurashi's the same, but you may or may not like a new visual novel dropping. They're doing a new visual novel in place of anime reactions. Going for, um I'm just bringing this up because someone did comment to commented recommended I forgot what it's called, the other one of Ryukishi's other works, and I talk about it in the update video. But basically, I wanted to like read someone else's visual novel just because I'm already like really a really big Ryukishi fan, but I don't really have the experience I do like with anime and manga, where I have like a big pool I've watched compared to visual novels where it's relatively small. So I wanted to like check out stuff by other artists just to expand my view. Because I know I probably already like the Ryukishi stuff, so yeah. But anyways, Higurashi's not changing, so this is not that big news. But just in case, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, let's get started. After taking a sip from the canned coffee she grabbed from a vending machine on the way, Tomoe muttered while looking up at the sky. The sun was shining in a bright blue sky, making it hard to believe how much it rained last night. The moisture in the air and the freshness of the early morning blended together in a soothing breeze. The roar of the cicadas could be heard coming from the row of the green trees lined up nearby. Their chorus was so ceaseless that it would be apt to say it kept pouring down like rain. She had already scouted out Kimiyoshi's house, and she knew that the housewife Haruko was currently there. The spooky one. She also surveyed her husband Toji's office and the community center that her mother Aki frequently visited. So she was perfectly prepared for this visit, but she read up on a certain document that detailed Haruka's past. Based on that, it was clear she wasn't fond of the police and even seemed to be a little hostile. Thus, even if Tomoe reached out to her, it was unlikely that she would cooperate. Honestly, the husband. Maybe it is just Natsumi. I was gonna say maybe the husband has a better chance, but I don't know. I guess he did technically kind of make a play last episode, but it was after so much stuff happened. He feels like too much of a coward, I think, to talk. But maybe if he lets him alone, she lets him alone. The grandmother wouldn't talk, or just talk about Mizawa stuff, superstitious stuff, and I don't know about Natsumi. I don't want to push her buttons, man. She might go cray cray. Toji was your typical studious businessman, heading to work early in the morning and continuing to work overtime late into the night. He had no hobbies and practically no personal relationship with his co-workers. He's on the grind, based. Actually based. Actually on the grind. And he hardly ever stopped at the shopping district, much less the bars. Probably fearing his wife's wrath. So the old strategy of setting up an accidental meeting, then fueling the conversation with the power of alcohol, was out of the question. And then Haruko's mother Aki. She never had a particularly outgoing personality. Ever since she moved to this unfamiliar town, she just shut herself in at home. Even though she had a few friends around her age, she hardly ever talked to anyone else at the community center. She was probably the person with the most direct knowledge about the curse, but if a stranger came asking about it, she probably wouldn't say anything. Round 2. After letting out a heavy sigh, Tomoe tossed her empty can toward the nearby trash can. The can flew with a beautiful art, and the sound reverberated as it struck the edge of the bin. Natsumi Kimiyoshi. She probably lost a lot of friends in the disaster. I mean, maybe. She didn't really talk to it. I guess she kinda knew the gang. An elderly person could deal with that, but for a child her age, the concept of people you know dying was far too alien. It put a lot of stress on one's mind and body. That wasn't just Tomoe's imagination speaking. In fact, she suffered the same thing, and her sister still had wounds from the experience. Nevertheless, Tomoe needed to ask that girl about the source of her anguish, Hinamizawa. What a contradiction. When Tomoe came back from the Sawatari Care Center, she pulled Akasaka and Oishi into her room and began confessing how she felt to them. I wonder if they'll actually get anything from this. I mean, obviously they won't solve it. I mean, I guess they technically could solve it, but Rika would still have to look for a perfect fragment because it's too late. But I don't know, man. It's a hard mystery. I don't blame them for not solving it. It runs fucking deep. Literally some conspiracy shit. They are technically making stuff worse for the Hinami's Islands. Technically. But also, they could save Natsumi's family from the tragic fate of last arc. Good knows, good knows. At least you didn't tell that. Oishi-san gave her his usual gentle nod. After Sato was able to understand Chief Inspector Minai's feelings painfully well himself, a tragedy had unfolded at a house they investigated previously, as if their actions steered the tragedy in that direction. Anyone would doubt themselves after seeing that, and become hesitant as a result. True, probably. Don't let the Hinami's Island become extinct, man. You think Tokyo's monitoring the situation? As we kind of talked about it last episode, how all the press stuff was coming out when the guy retired. Try to take off the light from him. Though I guess they didn't talk about it. I talked about it. That could be a possibility.
本当に申し訳ないと思っています。それでも私もここで引き下がるわけにはいかないんですよ。私の刑事魂にかけてもね。
大石さん。
頼みます。あと少しだけ私に力を貸してもらえませんかね。
Tomoe lightly shook her head, then raised it up. She had never seen Oishi so tenacious before. She wasn't so cold-hearted to overlook that. Visiting Natsumi Kimiyoshi's school would be a good start, and then... Ara? Just then, on the edge of her line of sight, she noticed a person casually sitting alone on the bench of the corner of the park. It's not Natsumi, it's Chisato. Even from this distance, that bright red clothing was clearly a school uniform, and then... Chisato, locking it in. Never mind. Actually always wrong. She's chilling. As she muttered that, Tomoe took a picture out of her jacket pocket to confirm the subject. There was no room for doubt. That girl was Natsumi, the only daughter of the Kimiyoshi family. She glanced at her watch. It was already 9:30 o'clock. She made her way through the other pedestrians over to Natsumi. Natsumi seemed lost in thought, with a hard expression on her face, so she didn't notice Tomoe approaching. She didn't have time to do a proper preliminary investigation, but she hadn't heard anything about Natsumi being bullied at school. She was known for good behavior and rarely skipped class, so maybe the recent news about Hinamizawa was a factor here. The original plan was to stop her on her way home from school, but it was serendipitous that no other students were around at the moment. Tomoe wasn't confident that any strong information would come out of this, but she felt obligatory to at least try. She bought 2 cans of juice from a nearby vending machine and headed to the bench where Natsumi was seated. Then... Natsumi's head reeled up after suddenly being called out to. Since the girl looked a bit frightened, Tomoe carefully approached her with a smile and asked her a question. After a brief bow, Tomoe sat down and took a deep breath. Then she opened up the juice cans in her hand and took a light sip. The taste was a bit odd thanks to the coffee she drank just before, but she endured it. I just get more coffee. Despite clearly looking uncomfortable, Natsumi answered by shaking her head. She seemed to be at a loss to whether she should get up and leave. Just as Tomoe had heard, she seemed rather timid. In that case... Basic knowledge? I mean, she would know that. How old are you? Oh, I guess you can just lie if you're old. And say, oh, I must have retired. It is kind of sus, honestly. I think she's playing it cool, but just, from my point of view, it's a little sussy. And she might be on guard after the whole Atezako Wishi thing. After faintly looking down, Tomoe let out a lonely laugh. Of course, none of that was true. She knew from the experience that directly asking what school are you from was no way to get any information. In fact, it could make them recoil and feel frightened that another person was prying into their affairs. So in this case, the best strategy would get down on the kids' level, shorten the distance between them, and then persuade them. That was the guidance method that she learned in her time at the youth division. Students who skip school, especially students that do so wearing their uniforms, tend to be actively rebelling against the school system in the first place. So they have a strong desire to seek understanding from other people, and they feel secure sharing conversations with like-minded individuals, even strangers. I mean, not to be snarky, but if you're going to a school that requires a uniform and you're skipping class, I feel like it's just normal to like have your uniform still on. Unless you're saying like they change out. Unless she's talking about like not even going to school, just skipping it from the get-go, then I guess that made sense. It's a good analysis, man. I was gonna say maybe she's thinking too deep, but it's not like I think that deep about the human psyche, so maybe there's some underlying effect to that. Also, it's talking about Japan. Shouldn't compare to Canada, I guess. There was a time when she was first starting out that she said that and revolted against her superior's orders, so personally, Tomoe still hesitated to use the method and still felt guilty about it. Nah, you need that manipulation as a detective, I think. Just a little bit. However, ironically enough, it was quite effective. So Tomoe told herself it was all to make kids who were stepping down the wrong path open their hearts, and had managed to rescue them from delinquency in the past. Don't take food from strangers, Natsumi. For skipping.
実は私も今お仕事サボり中。こんな暑い中営業回りよ。たく、こっちの立場になれってのよ、クソ上司。だからあなたと私は同じ。というわけで一緒に飲みましょう。
Well, she's definitely doing a better job at talking to Natsumi than the last arc, but I guess in this time she's being like incognito, while the other one she was actually just interrogating her hard. And I guess she was more aggro because she was more obsessively devoted to the case because of why she died. Natsumi's shy and rigid demeanor began to soften a little. After seeing that, Tomoe began feeling a bit more mischievous and pressed the juice can against her neck. Classic. I love doing that to people.
ね、よく冷えてるでしょ。私2本も飲めないし、ぬるくならないうちにね。
Natsumi reluctantly accepted the canned juice from Tomoe with a bitter smile, or at least she acted reluctant. Then she pulled up on the tab and took a big gulp. Wait, sorry. Let me charge my phone. Forgot to do that. No, I won't pause the recording. You have to wait 20 seconds for me to plug this shit in. Alright, beautiful. 34%. So it's the worst feeling when you wake up and your phone's at like 30%. Anyways, Natsumi's a certified orange juice enjoyer. You know what? I'll say it. I'm not afraid. Orange juice, a little overrated. I feel like when you asked a lot of people what their favorite drink is, I feel like a big percentage is orange juice. I don't really see the appeal. Honestly, as a kid, I hated it. Now I'm like, it's alright. But to be fair, if you're asking me, Aiden, what's your favorite juice? I actually don't drink juice, so I don't know. I feel like apple is overrated too. But I'd probably take an apple over an orange juice. But funnily enough, I'd probably eat a real orange than a real apple. Maybe. Though it is kind of annoying that you have to wash your hands more because of an orange. I don't know. It's the great food debate. I think I'm team apple juice, but team orange fruit. Yep, classic centrist.
私炭酸ってちょっと苦手で
Carbonation. I love carbonation.
喉がイガイガするんだよねあれ。
Only if you're soft. No, I'm
私
joking.
の周りの連中は美味しいって言うんだけど、何がいいのかな。
本当ですよねジュースはやっぱり甘くて普通に冷たい方が飲みやすいです
へえ、気が合うわね。
I mean, I'm on the same page too. A drink that's a drink in the fridge is always better. Minus if it's made to be hot.
私はともえっていうの。見ないともえ。よろしくね。
Real name? Not fake? It's okay.
私は夏美ですよろしくお願いします
Natsumi finally started to open her heart, and she gradually began to smile. Then she started laughing adorably along with Tomoe.
さて、どう話を持っていこうかな。
Hey, you see that disaster that happened on the news? It's fucking crazy out there. Tomoe made small talk about safe topics at school while waiting for the right time to begin talking about Hinamizawa. If she were only there to reprimand her for skipping school, she would just bring up her own family history without going too far. But in this case, she was here to question Natsumi as part of her investigation. What would be the best way to address the topic without making her jump on the defensive? That was a tough question. A single misplaced word could make all the work spent creating this cheerful atmosphere go to
と
waste.
言っても、ひなみ沢の話題を自然に持ち出す流れなんて。
I mean, it's a hot topic on the news. I feel like it's actually not that weird to ask about it when you're making small talk. You see that? What's the village coded in? The one that everyone fucking died in? Just then.
あれ
Cicadas. Higurashi. Actually, Aiden, it is cicadas. Higurashi are the evening cicadas. I actually didn't know that for a long time, but yes, even though this is called when the cicadas cry, it's actually referring to evening cicadas. It's a specific kind. I learned that like halfway, I think, through playing the OG arcs. Oh, that's not what she was talking about anyways. That's just a sign that shit might get a little creepy. Suddenly, Tomoe noticed a plastic bag stuffed with newspapers next to Natsumi's seat. And on one side of the bag, the headline Great Hinamizawa Disaster Investigation was clearly written in bold typeface.
ねえ、その新聞は
Even though it was a casual question, Natsumi shrank down again, and her peaceful expression from up until a moment ago froze away. She then quickly closed her mouth as if trying to hide it.
これは
たくさん買うのね。
She's hoarding?
いえお母さんが
After she groaned those words out, Natsumi fell silent. Feeling uncomfortable with that reaction, Tomoe looked down and tried to think of a way to steer this conversation. Then she spoke in a gentle tone.
ねえ、夏美ちゃん。新聞ならちょっと見せてくれない？え？うん、今日の夜に見たい特番があったのよね。ちょっと確認を。
Box? I'm just trying to look at the comments. Family Circus. Not Dilbert. Apparently some shit's happening with the author. I don't remember. I don't read comics. All I know is Family Circus and Dilbert. The Viking guy. I forgot what it's called though. There's a Viking one too. Tomoe pulled her outstretched hand away, dumbfounded. When Natsumi noticed that reaction, she immediately returned to herself. She awkwardly looked away with a shocked expression as she caught her breath.
ごめんなさい。私。
あ、
After that, Tomoe noticed a cold sensation on her feet and turned her head downward. Looking there, she saw that her canna juice had fallen out of her hand and rolled to the ground, splattered on her shoes.
すぐ拭きますから。
I'm gonna send you my dry cleaning bill. And that can be part 2 of the conversation.
本当にごめんなさい。
Actual strats.
あ、気にしないで。これくらいなんとも。
However, Natsume took a tissue out of her pocket and squatted down, then carefully wiped Tomoe's shoes with no concern about getting her hands dirty. Tomoe watched on as if Natsume was sucking poison out of her.
いい子なんだな。
True. It's what Shisato says a lot, at least last arc. The more she felt it, the more it hurt. Or was it this arc? I don't know. Natsume's awkward reactions and guilty conscience were probably influenced by her ties to Hinamizawa. Even so, she hadn't done anything wrong. Why did she have to go all through this pain just because she was from Hinamizawa? Racism. And Hanyu. That is all.
すみません。私。もう。
Listen, I'm the one who tells you when you're done enough. No, I'm joking.
ひなみ沢大災害か。新聞って買ってよね。
After Tomoe said that, Natsume immediately stopped what she was doing and stood up, and in doing so, revealed her true feelings. Although Tomoe felt a little regret after saying that, she looked up toward the heavens and continued speaking.
たたりだかなんだか知らないけど、人が2000人も亡くなってる大災害を何だと思ってるのかしら。残った遺族とか友人とか辛い思いで悲しんでる人はまだいっぱいいるのに。
I get it. I'm a little more understanding now because they are tying it in with the curse and superstitions and stuff. I was gonna say, like, it's just normal for reporters to report on that shit, but I guess it is a little extra weird because of all the folklore surrounding the village. Maybe it wouldn't be like Timmins, man.
いい加減な記事を書いてるのって私は好きじゃない。
Maybe I was wrong for naming that episode Timmins. Even though it's not. Timmins is honestly like Otonomi, I feel. Damn it, I was trying to like say a real example, but then it's like you think of a real example at the day, but when you have a chance to say it, it's blank, man. Maybe like Sault Ste. Marie. That's a small village, I think. North Bay? North Bay is actually huge, but probably a small
新
population.
聞とか雑誌とかニュース番組とか。
Avane? Avane has to be small. It's where the French up north.
ああいったものを作ってる人たちにとって他人の不幸は
Anyways.
ただの商品なんだよね。そのせいで忘れたいことを無理やり思い出して悲しんだり苦しんだりする人の気持ちなんて全然わかっちゃいない。それが事実の報道ならまだいいわ。でも本当にあったことを面白がってねじ曲げたりこじつけたりでっち上げたり。
Yep. It's how you sell shit, baby.
そしてその家族や友人たちがどれだけ
I'm sure there's some publications that take it more seriously than transforming it into like a curse thing, right? They did that. I gotta stick up for the reporters, man. Obviously, there are some scumbags that just wanna monetize the best they can, but I'm sure there's like some actual investigative journalists probably like working a little hard, taking it seriously.
人を傷つけておいて何がマスコミの正義を。
I guess maybe Ryokishi has strong feelings about this topic.
切れるわ。
It's valid for sure, especially in today's climate.
さ
I feel like distrust for the media it's been reaching new highs. So I guess it's always kind of been there. at the same time. Tomoe was being completely honest here. She still recalled the incident from 12 years ago when her home burned down and claimed the lives of both her parents. At the time, it wasn't just the death of their parents that haunted Tomoe and Madoka. Over time, the press overwhelmed them with the sensationalized stories about the incident. The death of her parents, her sister's hospitalization, and her own future. Countless reporters came to Tomoe for interviews, even as she was struggling to deal with her personal tragedies. Publishing things like, why was this detective/father targeted? Conspiracy hidden behind investigations he was undertaking, and so forth. I mean, let's be honest, this title is not like that bad. That's literally just asking a question. This one is kinda sketchy. The first one, I don't think it's that bad. Just asking why was he killed. I feel like most journalists would covering a murder would look at why they were killed. I'm not a journalist, by the way. I don't know why. I'm just running defense for no reason. Tomoe didn't know the truth, so she was honest with them about how little she knew. But she was shocked to learn that they rewrote her words without her permission, twisting them into a grudge against criminals and criticism against the police, telling a completely different story. That's fucked up. I'll give Tomoe that. They do that. I mean, just completely putting new words into their mouth is actually probably like you can probably sue them or something. But like just taking like having a big ass interview and then chopping up words so technically it's your words and rearranging them to paint a different picture is like, I think it's legal, but it's also like pretty fucked up. I'm 100% against that. Pushing for their own gains. In addition, there's an article suggesting that Tomoe was the actual target of the fire. That's crazy. Someone jealous of all the success Tomoe was attaining as a high school athlete started the fire to threaten her, and her parents' death were just an unfortunate consequence of that. Did they mention that last arc? I feel like we've heard that somewhere. Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. Thanks to that, the police began to interrogate the other athletes that Tomoe had a friendly rivalry against, which made them resent how much it got in the way of their practice. Eventually, someone brought up the fact that Madoka happened to come home late on that day of the incident and was in a rebellious phase, which cast baseless suspicion on her. Yep, that shit's fucked up. How much did those articles contribute to the heartbreak Tomoe and her sister endured? They didn't know for sure. It might be better not to know. And once the readers grew bored and weary, they lost all concern for the girls and clamored to the next topic. Of course, Tomoe didn't think everyone was like that, but she was never able to dispel her distrust for the media after that. Hmm.
大した問題にもならないんでしょうけど、一般のその他大勢が喜べば、ごくわずかな少数派のことなんか知ったことか、なんてね。ごめんなさい。私ったらつい。
That might, I don't know, win her trust with us, speaking from the heart.
いえ、ともえさんの言ってること、なんとなくわかります。
Natsumi rolled up the tissue and sat on the side of the bench, then sat back in her original seat and continued.
ちゃんとわかりもしないで、自分の常識の枠内で決めつけて、言われる相手の都合とか、事情とか、
True?
そんなのお構いなし。
But that's just their job, man. I don't know.
自分が一番なんですよ。
I mean, that's probably true in a general sense. I don't know, man. Now we're back to the journalist side. Obviously, they can't 100% relate to the topic they're covering. Though that's in an ideal world. If they specialize in that, then sure. But, like, I don't know. I personally don't think you need to be. Obviously, you should have some interest in it, but you don't have to, like, fully be connected. To do commentary on something.
夏美さん。
でも
It's kind of. Natsumi's kind of going crazy, though. She's like 16, man. She's spitting. Natsumi let out a sardonic chuckle as she looked up to the sky.
叩かれる方にも問題はあると思います。バカ正直に勝手に信じて
True?
思い込んで裏切られて傷つく。
Sort of a pessimistic view, but also just generally true.
だったら最初から信じなきゃいい。
No, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Emo route?
誰も近づけず一人でいれば悩むことなんて何もない。
On a bad day, though. I feel like I can think like this too,
そ
honestly.
れに心をクリアにして相手がなんで私に近づくのかを考えてみれば大体のことは感じます。結局ただの打算だってでしょ。
それはでも
同情しているように見せかけても本当はただ面白がっているだけ。
Jesus, right? Yeah, I guess Natsumi's already kind of going crazy. This is some deep shit.
優しく振る舞う自分に酔っているだけ。
That I don't believe this, man. I guess you can technically say that someone actually being sympathetic is just doing it because they feel like they should do it, and making them not cry and being the source of the reason they're not like being sad. It gives them gratitude or something like deep like that, but that's more of a technicality.
それなら無視されている方がずっとマシ。
Oh no no
見
no.
下されているみたいだし本人はいたわってるつもりで満足しているかもしれないけど
Tomoe, you
優越感を見せ
you
つけられ
awakened the beast.
私はイラつく。傷の痛みも知らないくせにどれだけ私を傷つけているか。
Ah,
この子たちはきっとわからない。
I do agree that like everyone here is like pretty racist, so I don't blame Natsumi for hating the other students and shit.
わかるわけない。
Even a goddess like Tamako is racist.
わかってたまるか。
It's all fucked up. This is actually pure emotion, man.
友達だから。何が友達だ。
This is honestly like I'm sorry, we keep interrupting. This is like an Umineko speech. I feel like I can see a character like saying this in Umineko. Like it almost feels like a pessimistic Eva or something. It's kind of based.
勝手に助けておいて。
Does
自分の手に負えないと分かったら最後は知らないふりして。
or it kind of reminds me of the Erica speech. Maybe that's what I'm thinking about. Erica from episode 6 or 5 when she was talking to Delanor. Kind of feels like it. I don't know. I liked it though. The long monologue.
ひょっとしたら助けてくれるかもって。それを裏切られた時どんな気持ちになると思いますか。だったら最初から期待なんてしなきゃいいんだ。
君吉さん。
What'd she punch? Tomoe is mortified after realizing she blurted out a word she shouldn't know. Oh yeah, she shouldn't have said Kimiyoshi. I didn't even pick that up. Oh, and this is just gonna feel Natsumi's fucking monologue. You fucked up, Tomoe. I mean, I don't blame her for being surprised. But Natsumi didn't seem surprised at all. She cast a smile.
やっぱり刑事さんだったんですね。
Oh, Dad, it's all fucked up.
なんとなくそんな気がしてました。
I don't blame Natsumi for getting a feeling though. Like literally just a couple of days ago, he was approached by two sketchy guys that were police.
で、さっきまでの話、どこまでが本当なんですか？ひょっとして全部嘘？私を騙して何かを聞き出すつもりですか？とんでも
Oh,
ないペテン師です
oh,
ね。
don't dab on her.
みんな一緒。見せかけだけの親しさと優しさで近づいて私のことを裏切るんだ。
Hey, Toto-kun hasn't. He's been. I mean, maybe she's mad from the high school news or whatever.
そんな汚い人間の
I don't even know if
声
she
みたいな真似まで
knows.
してひなみ沢の何を知りたいんですか？ねえ。
Again, I gotta give props to Natsumi's voice actor. She's killing it. I'd put her in the same tier as the main usual cast. It's always a pleasure. She has like a really distinct and pretty cute voice normally, but she goes hard when she's acting crazy too.
違うわ、私は。
Sorry, Tomoe got intellectually outpaced. The sudden roar made Tomoe freeze and hold her breath. That was Natsumi's. Sorry, haven't pressed the soundboard in a while. The gentle atmosphere faded away in an instant. It felt like countless sharp needles were stabbing into her body, paralyzing her limbs, and all she could do was shiver. She couldn't even breathe. She felt she was on the verge of fainting. It seemed like she could hear the sound of all the blood coursing through her body. Doing her best to cling to her sanity, Tomoe stared back at the girl in front of her. This was not the weak-minded Natsumi Kimiyoshi who was here a minute ago. Her eyes were so wide it was terrifying. Her fangs were exposed as if ready to devour her in an instant. This was the form of a demon. Several large globs of sweat were flowing down her forehead, then dripped from the tip of her jaw. It almost felt like time had stopped. She could no longer hear the ambient noises of her surroundings. Her field of vision narrowed and filled with colorful static. The repeated blinking of harsh lights drowned out the contours of the world.
刑事さん。いえ。ともえさん。
After Tomoe finally returned to herself, she resisted the urge to back off, putting her full strength into her trembling fists.
あなたの嘘はともかく話を聞いてくれたことは嬉しかったです。それは本当ですから。それじゃあさよなら。待って、夏美さん。
Natsume had already grabbed her badge and gotten up from the bench when Tomoe reflexively called out to her. Natsume made several steps ahead before stopping with her back turned to Tomoe.
なんです。あなたもひなみ沢のことで何かを知りたいんですか？おあいにくですが、知りたかったら他を当たってください。もっとも資料とかで調べる以上のことが出てくるとも思えませんが、ただ私に聞いても期待しているようなことは何も。
Cut off?
そうじゃない、そうじゃなくて。
She spoke with all her might. Tomoe is no longer speaking as a detective when she said that. Her tongue became tangled, her throat was clogged, and it hurt to breathe. Even so, she had shared Natsumi's pain. So Tomoe couldn't stand idly by as a little girl was about to be consumed by the same darkness as her.
騙したことは謝るわ。ごめんなさい。でも夏美さん、あなたはそれでいいの？何も信じなくて全てを疑って、それで本当にいいの？
いいも何もないですよ。これがただ一つの一
Holy.
番正しい方法。そうでしょ？
本当に私にはそう見えない。だってあなたは本当はそう思ってないでしょ？ ただそう思おうとしているだけじゃない。あなたは自分の作ったありもしない悪人だけの世界が全てだと勝手に思い込んでる。
随分決めつけるんですね。あなたに私の何がわかるんですか？
わかるわよ。さっきも言ったでしょ。私もあなたと同じだったから。私もね、あなたと同じように絶望して何もかも信じられなくなったことがある。たった一人で悩んで苦しんで、どうして私だけがこんな目にって世の中全てを恨んだりもしたわ。でもね、何も信じられないのって本当に辛いことなの。疑えば疑うほど周りの人は私のことを信じてくれなくてどんどん離れていく。みんなだからずっと自分が一人ぼっちで寂しくて怖くて悲しくて。
Tomoe popping off. I just props to her voice actor as well.
夏美さん、あなたは耐えられるの？私には耐えられなかった。
At one point, Tomoe was just like that. She was overwhelmed with despair and considered ending it all. Studying desperately to keep up in school while working part-time to afford living expenses and taking care of her sister. She kept telling herself that she didn't consider it painful. But whenever she saw children around her age having fun on Christmas and New Year's, it made her feel lonely, even jealous. Still, she believed that her efforts would eventually lead to happiness, so she kept struggling forward, doing her best. Tomoe endured that daily routine, spending no time for personal enjoyment, to say nothing about barely having another time to breathe. And yet one day, her beloved sister ran away from home and left a letter behind. The heartbreaking despair she felt at the time still haunted her dreams to this day. The cold rain beat down on her. She lost something precious and dragged her feet up and down asphalt alleys, searching for it, until she finally collapsed from exhaustion. And then... she couldn't bear it any longer. As her face soaked with rain and tears, Tomoe spit out those dark feelings that she was coughing up blood. Her voice rained out as she began to cry. Why? Why only me? What did I do? I gave up on things I wanted, yet this is the result of all the hard times I've endured? She does whatever she pleases, living her life with not a care for my feelings. Why only me? In that case, what am I really working towards? Why do I endure all this? If I can never be happy, what is all this suffering and sorrow even for? That's it. It's time to end this. All of it. Everything. How does it matter? I'll give up this worthless mind and body for anyone, anywhere. I began to think that, right as I was about to submit to my despair. A wild Oishi appears. Even now, she still couldn't forget that favor. Thanks to him, Tomoe was introduced to people in the world and involved with her parents' incident. People in the know and involved with her parents' incident, and that made her the person she is now.
あの時のことがなかったら私はどうなっていたかわからない。でも私はその時分かったの。私を裏切るやつもいるけど、それ以上に大切に思ってくれる人も絶対にいる。自分が最後まで諦めなければ。今でも自分の親しい人たちに裏切られる。
Feel like this isn't gonna work.
不安になって怖くなる時もある。
Natsumi's gonna hit her with a one-liner and walk away.
だけど世界は冷たいばかりじゃない。それに相手の優しさには打算とか悪意もあるかもしれないけど、その気持ちそのものの温かさはきっと本物なのよ。
綺麗事ですね。 虫図が走りますよ。
Owned.
いいじゃない。綺麗だ。
Oh, should not stop in.
いつか死ぬ直前になって自分の
Fuck
耳
her
の
up.
中を真っ黒に塗りつぶしたくなるような思いをするくらいならずっとそっちの方がマシよ。やってみたこともやってみようとも思わなかったあなたにそんなこと言わせない。私が味わった地獄まで否定するな。
After Tomoe finished her speech, Natsumi seemed to recoil in response, and her shoulders turned ever so slightly back. At that moment, Tomoe finally realized she was crying. And while staring at the blurry figure of Natsumi's back, she wanted to believe that her words reached Natsumi at least a little.
ねえ、夏美さん、誰も信じられないなんてそんなこと思わないで。あなたにも優しさを向けてくれる人がいるでしょ。
Yeah, his name's Tototron, least racist person in the town.
友達とか家族とかその人たちはきっとあなたのことを。
いませんよ。
え？
To be fair, yeah, it's hard to find like interaction with people when everyone's racist. Slowly, Natsumi turned to face Tomoe, with no light in her eyes as cold as before. However, behind all that, Tomoe felt like she saw her shaking.
家族なんか私にはいません。
But
私の幸せを奪っていくような人たち、
oh,
私の家族じゃないです。
夏美さん。
ともえさん、
normal eyes?
もっと早く。
It's already too late.
そうすればきっと。さよなら。話せて嬉しかったです。
At this time, Natsumi left the vicinity without looking back. For a while, Tomoe just stood there, quietly staring at the park entrance. How much time had passed? Tomoe sat on the bench feeling helpless, that her efforts were in vain. She had gotten emotional while telling her story to Natsumi. Natsumi must have been exasperated. And in the end, she didn't gain any useful information.
あれ？
Tomoe reluctantly got up from the bench to make her way to the station, and as she did, she noticed something out of place and turned to the side. A lovely little pink box was sitting there. What the?
コンパクトじゃない。ピルケース？
As she opened the lid, she noticed 6 capsules stored in 2 packages inside. She checked the serial numbers on the back, but she found numbers and letters she had never seen before.
これって誰の？
By removing the contents, she was able to see something written on the bottom of the case. The name Natsumi Kimiyoshi was written there in a clear handwriting. Maybe it fell out of her pocket when she pulled out the tissue to wipe Tomoe's shoes?
こんな箱に入れてるってことは常備薬？
If that was the case, she needed to return it right away. After that thought, Tomoe rushed up and ran after Natsumi. Oh, she's long gone, right? It's literally like sunset. But just then her pager made an annoying sound.
もうタイミング悪いわね。
Tomoe reluctantly ran to the nearest unoccupied phone booth, lifted the receiver, tossed a 10-yen coin, and dialed the Kakuchi Station Criminal Investigation Division. Fujita.
藤田くん？見ないです。私のベルに連絡があったんだけど。
I don't know if I'm using this as a thumbnail. It's just a phone, but it's a new background. What the?
なんですって。畠山家でまた事件？
Aren't they like all dead? Oh wait, no, this is the main family hasn't died yet.
それで内容は？
Just the grandfather. In shock, with her eyes open wide, Tomoe returned the handset to the hook.
なんてこと。
Or, I don't know, it's past that, right? I don't know. It's either the main family dead or something happened to the surviving daughter. The incident that Fujita had just informed her of. What that? Was that the Hatakeyama family from the incident the other day were gunned down with a hunting knife? Oh yeah, this was the father shooting everyone, right? I guess. Later, Wednesday, July 6, 1983.
そんなことがあったんですか。
ええ。力が及ばず、本当に申し訳ありません。
Yeah, I'm guessing it was just the family getting shot. Chief Inspector Minai held the steering wheel and continued looking in the direction she was driving as she explained the circumstances to us in the back seat.
まあそんなに自分を責めずに。ともえちゃんでダメなら私たちならもっと拉致が開きませんでしたよ。ねえ赤坂さん。
ええ、全くです。
Probably true. I agreed with a strong conviction in my voice, and hopefully that got through to Chief Inspector Minai at least a little.
それにしても、
どうしました。
よくテレビでは切れるなんて言葉を使いますが、最近の子って難しいですよね。
切れる。
Chief Inspector Minai rubbed her neck as she described her meeting with Natsumi Tomiyoshi the other day.
学校とか近所の聞き込みでは、引っ込み思案なおとなしい子だって話でした。あんな風に土星を上げるほどに気が強いとはちょっと意外でした。
気が強い。
Hearing that word made me feel uncomfortable. I only met her once, but I didn't sense an ounce of aggression in her. In fact, she seemed like the kind of girl who didn't even have the will to escape, even when she was feeling uncomfortable, didn't she?
まあそこの母親は勘の強い方だって有名みたいですからね。その娘も性格はどこか似てくるものですよ。ね、赤坂さん。
ええ、そうですね。
But I wondered if that was really the reason. Just then.
助けてあげたいんです。
Oh, she's back. Unable to understand what Chief Inspector Minai was getting at, I suddenly raised my head. I saw through the rearview mirror that she was looking straight ahead, but in her eyes I noticed a shimmer of loneliness.
昔の私とどこか似てるなって。立場と状況が違えば、私もああなっていたかもしれませんし。だから。
ともえちゃん。
We fell silent. The car continued approaching Kakushi Station at a gentle speed. Meanwhile, the three of us couldn't say anything. We were lost in our heartfelt thoughts. And chapter end, probably. Great time. Honestly, when they went to the next day, I'm like, oh shit, it's a long chapter, but no. So we're like caught up from the beginning now, I guess. Might have some tips. Ooh, it's just a break. The three-peat. What that? Mysterious. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Actually, a great episode this time. Love the conversation between Tomoe and Natsumi. Super intense, super great performances all around. Very fun. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time with some more Kageboushi. Until then, see ya.